Hello, this is Angela Anderson. Thanks for joining me for this acrylic painting tutorial. In this video, we're going to be painting an owl on a pumpkin. It's going to be really fun, kind of a little pre-Halloween painting for us. And I'm going to keep it really simple so you can do it as a beginner. I've got my husband Mark with me.
Hey there, everybody.
He's in chat tonight, so if you've got questions while I'm painting, you can ask those and we'll try to answer. Let's get started. Alrighty, I have prepped my canvas. I've got a 12 by 12 inch canvas. Hello, welcome. Glad you're with us. If you're new, please subscribe, all that good stuff. Like the video, share it with your friends if you know anybody that likes to do painting. Alright, I'm using a 12 by 12 from Fredrix. Blue label. It's a smoother canvas finish. And I have prepped it with just a little coat of burnt sienna, very light, thin coat. Put the little bit of color on, put some glazing medium and some water, and then just used a paper towel to rub it on so that it went on really thick. You can see it's a lot darker in its mouse tone. So very thin here, and that'll just kind of give us a starting place and give us some nice warm red undertones because we've got a lot of gray and green in this one, and so I thought that that would brighten up our colors a little bit. Let's go over our colors. Speaking of, I've got that looks so weird. I need to move my thing over. So okay, there we go. Carbon black, burnt umber, burnt sienna, yellow oxide, India yellow, Pyrrole orange, Quinacridone Magenta, Ultramarine Blue, Cobalt Teal, Unbleached Titanium, Titanium White, and I actually was going to put out that. It's actually satin glazing liquid from Golden. It's got a slow dry extender in it, so it's actually really nice to use, especially if you're going to be doing any glazing or other techniques like that where you're putting on a thin coat of paint, and like the background helps to stick that color to the canvas better when you thin out your paints, especially using these heavy body acrylics. You kind of need it. Okay, oh, now I need to move it back over. There we go. Oh, well. There we go. We'll get it there. For brushes, I'm going to be using the short-handled Aspens. And these are the ones that I'll be having a set. So I'm still testing them to see which ones are my favorite. If you've got a favorite size, let me know in the comments, because I'm going to be building a set of about 4 or 5 with Princeton. So I'm still kind of testing them to see which ones I like the best, different flats and brights and filberts and different ones. So I'm for sure going to use my 12 flat for some of the background work. I've got a 8 flat, and then I've got a 6 filbert. And I already know for sure this one's going in. This set is 4 angle bright. And then I'm kind of torn between doing a small and a large round or just a medium round. So I've got a 2, 4, and 8 round, and we'll use those for some of our smaller details. Really probably only going to need it on our owl, on the beak and feet, beak, eyes, and feet, but we'll have those to use also. All right, so let's go ahead and start with our largest brush. We'll do our background first, and yeah, get going. How are you doing, hon?
Well, other than the subscribe not working, I'm doing good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was working in the testing.
Yeah,
I don't know what.
It works here.
There it goes.
Oh.
Now it worked. Subscribe, subscribe, and click the bell icon for notification, because subscribe doesn't matter anymore.
Exactly.
But it does. Please do. But I'm just saying they don't necessarily suggest our videos to our subscriber base anymore. YouTube has kind of changed the way they do things in the recent years. So
yeah,
having that notification bell will help because it'll send an actual email to you, and it does work because I get those emails from so I guess I'm subscribed to myself under something.
And we also get the email from your Thankful Art.
Yes, and we do. So. Yeah, we send those out on Tuesdays. And once a month we send out our schedule for the month also. So can you get me some water to top this off? I don't know why, but my water is really low. So thank you. All right, let's do this while Mark's getting me some water. Let's mix up our gray-green, that's our background color. And there's a few different ways we could mix up our gray-green. We could use a green and then just add like gray to it to gray it out. Or we can start with the blue and add like a yellow that'll create more of a muddy green instead of a bright green. And then maybe add some brown or some gray to it, or black to tone it down. I think I'm going to do kind of a combo of the Ultramarine Blue and the Cobalt Teal. I did the Cobalt Teal because that background color is kind of teal. So I'm going to start with that. If I can get it on my knife. My goodness, it's just kind of not wanting to go on there, is it? Okay, so I'm going to get a pretty good amount of it because I'm going to need it.
Excuse me.
Thank you. To the line there. Oh, that's about right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
That went down a good inch in a week. Not even. Wow. Since Thursday. Crazy. All right. So then I'll go ahead and add the burnt umber to it, and that'll kind of neutralize it because it's already kind of close to the green that I want. I know I'm going to have to add yellow at some point, but we'll start it out by kind of neutralizing it with my brown. I might have added too much brown there. Now it looks... But actually that's pretty close to the color that we want. Let's hold it up against our... See? Man, we might have gotten it on our first try there. And then what we can do is add our lighter color to it to lighten it up. So I think this might be the dark version of the color. And I also do like to just mix the mass tone in a darker shade. I very rarely do pre-mixed colors. I really like to use colors that don't have white or black added to them because that way I can add those as I want to. So most of the colors that I use on my palette are single pigment colors, and for that reason they're better for color mixing. I like to kind of control the colors that I've got on my palette. I mean, but for beginners it can be easier. But honestly, I don't know if that's true though, because it can be easier to have convenience mixes of colors, but then when you try to mix the convenience colors to other colors, you may have, you know, pigments in that convenience. By convenience color, I just mean a color that has several pigments already mixed into it. That's, you know, maybe, you know, a light green or something like that that's got yellow and white and blue and, you know, other colors mixed into it. Or green gold is a convenience color. It's usually got like 2 to 3 colors in it. If you know the colors that are in it, then you can control what it does. But if you're not familiar with what colors are in those pre-mixed convenience colors, it can be really tricky to mix with them because they're kind of unpredictable if you don't know what's in them. All right. I don't know why I'm beating that dead horse. There we go. All right. You get it. You get it. All right. So I got a little bit of this dark green. I added my Unbleached Titanium to it to make a lighter green. And then I'm going to add some yellow oxide to it because I want it to be a little bit yellowish. And then I'm going to add some more of this Cobalt Teal also. So I have more of a brighter version of this. A little bit more of a green, bright green version. And then we can use this as our highlight color in our background. And I think I'm going to add a little bit of Ultramarine Blue because I think I want a little bit more of a blue even in it. Okay. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, so just a little bit more of the Cobalt Teal, Ultramarine, and Yellow Oxide, and then we added our Unbleached Titanium as our white, which Unbleached Titanium has Yellow Oxide and Burnt Sienna in it, so it's just a little bit more Yellow Oxide. If you didn't have this color, you could add white and get something similar. Okay, that looks really good. I think that's pretty close to what I'm seeing in those lighter areas. If you kind of hold it up against your photo, you can see what you got. Sometimes my printer doesn't print out the exact colors, so I don't tend to print anymore. I used to print out everything and have it and kind of, use it that way, but my printer was so unpredictable that I just stopped doing that. I just use the monitor now because I get better, more accurate colors usually. On my reference photos, I mean. All right, so let's go ahead and use this. And I'm just going to use kind of varying degrees of both of these for my background. So we'll start out with kind of a mid-tone and just start kind of going around our pumpkin. We may end up needing it lighter than I think, but I've kind of drawn out my pumpkin a little bit. I guess I probably should have gone over that part of it, but I did it ahead of time just to save us time since it's a Tuesday and this one is a somewhat complicated one. But I do have a traceable that will be available for this on my website or through Patreon monthly. You can buy it outright just for, I think it's $3 just for one traceable. But if you want unlimited downloads, it's $5 a month. So it's a pretty good deal. And you can cancel anytime. So you can pay $5 and download all of them and then cancel. I mean, it doesn't matter. You get a full month no matter how many you download. Not that I'm saying you should do that. Hopefully you'll like it and stick around. But, I know how I was when I needed, I'm still budget conscious, so I get it. Okay, so that looks good. And I'm just going to go ahead and ignore where those birds' feet are because I don't want to have to paint around them.
We may or may not have them at the end anyway.
Knowing me, he might not end up with feet.
Whatever. Optional.
I have been known to forget the bird feet, almost, but my audience usually helps me remember things like that. All right, I'm gonna take that part off there because I kind of covered up part of that pumpkin that I need. So I'm just gonna take a wet cloth and just wipe that off while it's still wet. There we go. Okay. And I'm just using this large flat. You get a little bit of water on it. You don't need a lot of water, but just if your paint feels like it's doing this where it's not covering very well, then you need to add a little bit of water to it. You don't want so much water that it's super transparent and too fluid, but if it's not moving around easily for you, then you need to add a little bit of water. Okay, so there we go.
This canvas is 12 by 12?
Yes, 12 by 12. And I'm trying to leave some of this orangey color peeking through here and there, so putting it on, not super patchy, but definitely not like solid. Kind of letting some of the areas be a little bit less full coverage. And then in the corners, I think I'm going to want to go a little bit darker. I love this color. It's really pretty. Like a warm sagey green. So I'm going to go nice and dark in the corners because we're going to put our spider web up there. And I'm using more of this than I realized. I'm almost out of it. So make a lot. I mean, not a ton, but make a little bit more than you think you need, maybe. Yeah, I'm probably going to go darker than this in the corner, but in the up closest to the corner. But for now, this is as dark as we're getting. So do this, and then we can go back in and glaze with some darker color after this is over, and I'll show you how to glaze.
I have another question about that.
Okay.
It is about the canvas size.
Yes.
Asking why did you choose the 12 by 12 size?
I like 12-inch is a good size for video. So it just tends to fit this way under the camera better. So when I don't want something too big, like my even my my videos that I do with my patrons, you know, I do on the 12 by 16, even though this one was this way. But yeah, this is another one that we did on that size canvas. That 12-inch just seems to fit. Now it's doing the subscribe button thing, honey. Yeah, you need to turn that off. There we go. Just seems to fit under there better. So, oh shoot. Did I just turn that off? I just kicked the power supply. No, I don't think I did. I think it's still running, hopefully. Anyhow, so that's way more information you needed, probably. But like when I was doing stuff for galleries and, you know, for my house or whatever, or for clients, I usually would go with the 24-inch, 24 by 24 or something. But, you know, for video, it's way too big to get under the camera. So I usually go with 12-inch, 12 or 10. Like when I do my large flower series are all on 10-inch square canvases, or most of them are, at least. That seems to be a good size. Okay, so there we go. Now we're at the point where that initial layer is starting to dry, so I need to leave everything alone and let it dry completely. Or if I try to put a second coat on right now, it'll start lifting the canvas, the color that's already there. So I just need to leave it. Let's go ahead and put our pumpkin color on, which is actually not too far from that background color. It is kind of a greenish pumpkin, but it's a little bit lighter. And in this area, I'm going to do some kind of warmer tones. So I think I'm going to use my burnt Sienna and burnt Umber. And I need more of that teal color, Cobalt teal. Used it all up. There we go. Using a little bit more than normal because I'm going a little juicier with my brush strokes on this one too. So I've got the burnt sienna, and that's going to be a warm red, reddish brown, and then just a little bit of that cobalt teal. And I might need to go a little bit darker. I'm going to add a little bit of black, maybe even a little bit of the ultramarine blue. There we go. Yeah, that's good. So we'll use that kind of as our dark side of our pumpkin, so it can be visible against that background. I'm going to bring it out just a little bit more. And then somewhere in here, we're going to start to transition. So I'm just going to kind of let what's left in my brush, I haven't reloaded, go, and I'm just going to kind of lightly brush it up so that it's kind of broken there. And then let's wipe out most of what's on my brush here. Get a little bit more water and some unbleached titanium and some of this green from our background, and maybe just a little bit of the India yellow, which is a little bit brighter yellow than the yellow oxide. If you don't have India yellow, you could use like a cadmium yellow medium or cadmium yellow light even. Cadmium yellow light will be a little bit brighter than this, but you'll get a similar result. Okay, so I'm leaving this color in there so that it's getting kind of that gray green out of it. But I'm liking this. And we'll just use this in this half of our pumpkin. I actually need to do this corner with that background color. And following the directions that I'm seeing the lobes of the pumpkin grow, so that I'm getting my brush strokes going in those directions. That's instead of, you know, pulling this way or whatever, I'm pulling down with the lobes of the fruit here. That way, if we get any streaks or anything, we may decide we want to leave them because they may be in the right place and we might like them. So there's kind of a split right here. So I'm going to kind of go in with a little bit darker color there, and another one kind of right there. And this brush is kind of a little bit big for this more detailed stuff, but we're just kind of blocking it in, so I'm not too worried about how it looks yet. I'm just kind of trying to get the shape. And let's go ahead and go in with some darker color. Get some of that burnt umber in that. Burnt umber and cobalt teal was our original background color, so get those two. Go ahead and fill in that corner with that. Now this initial layer is dry, I can kind of fill in, or at least parts of it are dry. Fill in a little bit there. And I'm going to get a little bit of a Pyrrole orange here. And use a little bit of that. Now this pumpkin is still sort of wet, so I'm just going to use a little bit of it while it's still wet. Add a little bit down at the bottom there. Just streak it up. Okay, so let's let that dry. And clean out my brush really well.
I'm glad we've been getting ready for Halloween.
Yes. Mark's been enjoying all the candy.
But, Mark? What?
What?
We have
Did I say you?
We have to make sure it is safe and of the proper quality.
Right.
For the
We're doing
kids.
quality control right now. We're down 2 bags. Probably.
So those 2 bags both passed quality control.
It's bad. Yeah. Guilty. All right. Burnt umber here. Let's go ahead and put in our stem of our pumpkin. I've switched to a little bit smaller brush. This is the 8 flat. The difference between a flat and a bright is that the bright is shorter. Flat will hold more paint and will give you like thinner, longer brush strokes. The brights will give you a little bit more control if you are needing it. And they maybe blend a little bit better. Like if you're wanting to blend some colors, you might want to choose a bright because you can really push the paint around a little bit better with the bright. All right, so for the, I almost said eagle. For the owl, I'm going to use yellow oxide and unbleached titanium for some of it. And then for some of it, I want to go a little bit darker. Yeah, okay, there we go. So like a little bit burnt umber. This is an owl photo that I took while we were on our trip. There was just, we're walking through a park, and there's just a dude with some owls. He's giving a talk. It was pretty cool. Just in the middle of the park. I think it was a bird sanctuary or something like that. And there was this one. This one kept trying to fly away. He was trying to escape. And then there was a couple other owls and stuff. It was pretty cool. We got a photo of him. And now we're painting him. So there we go. And this pumpkin was one that we grew in our garden a few years ago that we still have not been able to replicate. We had the best year that year of like we were like, let's try growing pumpkins. That sounds fun. And we put, I think we had one plant, maybe two plants in a garden bed. We have raised beds in our garden. I'm mixing burnt umber and that burnt ultramarine blue to make a black. And we had, I want to say, how many pumpkins? I don't know. We had like 60 feet of pumpkin vines. It took over our entire garden. It went up over the bed and just like went down all the aisles of our garden and was just a monster. And so many green pumpkins. We had so many of these beautiful green, like they're jacaranda or something like that. I want to say, I might be saying that wrong. So if I'm wrong, please tell me in the comments. But anyhow, they were amazing. And then we've tried,
So we were
we're like, this is awesome. We are the pumpkin growers.
We know what we're doing.
We know exactly what we're doing. We can grow pumpkins, and we have not been able to do it ever since. We've tried the last 3 years, I think, and
we have
barely gotten one pumpkin every year.
Yeah, this year we had 3 like small mini pumpkins.
Yeah.
Before the plant died.
Right.
And now we'll have 2 or 3
medium
pumpkins.
sized, but they're not these green
Right.
ones. They're like a yellow or a pinkish orange. They're pretty, but they're not very big, and they're not this one. I don't know. Well, I know we have the seeds somewhere. We can't get them to live. We keep planting them, and they just keep dying.
Yeah, we had an issue with a vine borer.
Yeah,
beetles and
that's
stuff
the
this year
problem.
that
It's like the
really
bugs
hit us.
figure out that we got them, and then they come back in force the next year.
They tell all their friends.
All right, so we've got burnt umber and ultramarine blue right here, and that was, I guess, a little bit of white added. I'm not sure what I did there. I think I was just wiping it off my brush. Might have had some color still in there. And then this is more ultramarine blue and just mixed it in with what was in my brush. Okay, so I think that's dry enough. I'm going to add some of the blue up here to this side of the pumpkin too, and bring it up a little bit higher over here. Yeah, so we are not the mighty pumpkin growers that we thought we were.
Well, back when the kids were still living here, we bought store orange traditional pumpkins.
Yeah.
And had them, and then at the end of the season,
we're teenagers, so
took them down the creek, and they threw stuff at them and broke them
Yeah.
up and just had
Right.
good fun like boys do.
yeah.
And then the next summer, I realized that the pumpkin seeds had done what pumpkin seeds do. And the vines were growing up into the trees, and we had pumpkin
trees.
hanging from the branches
Yeah.
of the trees that grew all up and crawled up. So we probably had.
And they were too tall to get to, though, right? I mean, I think we might have pulled. Yeah, they were kind of up high.
Yeah, but it was funny to see because they were green when they started, so I didn't even notice them. And then all of a sudden they started turning color, and I'm like, what is that?
We got pumpkins in there.
We got tree pumpkins.
Tree pumpkins. Yep. Okay, getting some green here and adding it to this ultramarine blue mixture here, and that was a little bit of this. Those ultramarine blue, and so just like burnt umber with more ultramarine blue than burnt umber, and then adding this green to it here, so that I have a little bit more of a. Oh, that's a pretty color, isn't it?
So, is there a reason why you're painting the pumpkin first instead of the owl, or preference, or what?
I'm just going around. I don't know. I got sidetracked from your story. We're talking about pumpkins. Maybe.
Well, no, I mean you started. You blocked in the back colors.
I meant to block in the owl, and then I got sidetracked. So
I see.
Story.
Okay.
So
there's
I shouldn't be. There's no reason.
So there's a higher chance to get paint all over yourself.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. So that's the main reason.
Stop.
Hey, did you remember to put on a painting shirt?
I did.
Okay, good.
I did. Okay, let's go back to this one. The owl. Let's get a. Oh, I know why, because I was making a gray to use on my owl, and then I was like, oh, I see that gray in my pumpkin, and then I got sidetracked. Okay. So, all right, so I'm gonna get it that a little bit of that gray and mix it with my owl color, which was that light yellow with the burnt umber mixture in it, and let's go ahead and use that in my undertones of my. And if you're trying to go over an area of your background and it's not covering, then make sure you add a little bit more white. White will cover. And so here we go. So we're going with our lighter gray. Now this photo of the owl was taken in broad daylight, so there's not a lot of dark shadows on the owl versus the pumpkin that was taken also in broad daylight, but with a lot more harsh shadows. So we can add, we're probably going to add more shadows to this since these are two separate photos that were taken at different times in different locations. This taken in England, this one taken here in Arkansas in the summer. So, or that one was, no, I guess this one was taken in the fall in Arkansas, and that one was taken in September in Arkansas, in York, England. So the light's different is what I'm saying. Different light conditions and whatever. So you want to try to match them up as much as you can when you're kind of doing these kind of compilation photos where you're photoshopping in two photos, you know, from different things. So I'm assuming that I might have a little bit darker shadows on this under part of the bird than what I'm seeing here. So I'm just going to go a little bit darker than maybe, you know, to kind of match up sort of the darkest parts of my pumpkin somewhat. So maybe this part is going to be closer to that darker part, and like under the wing, maybe some of those areas might have some dark areas. And let's get some burnt umber, burnt sienna, and yellow oxide. Kind of those three. Use that on the, yeah, there we go. So have some dark parts of the wing here. And I'm just using the corner of this brush. This is the 8 flat. If I want to have like more rounded tip shape, I can press down with that brush and see how it kind of rounds out the tip there. I don't know if you can see that. I can do it here. But you can see how it kind of rounds out the tip of the flat brush. Okay, here I can. Oh, where?
Just anywhere on the canvas.
Okay.
Just so that I can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See. So even if it's a flat brush, if I pull it flat this way, I'm going to get a straight line. But if I twist it on its side, I'm going to get more of a rounded tip. And the back end of it actually will be more round than the top. So if I want it really round, I can pull it kind of in the opposite direction and let the round part be at the bottom. But anyhow, so I'm just going to kind of pull through that. But you're getting the idea. So using the edge of that brush, give us a rounder. And I'm holding it about halfway on the brush here, so I've got a little bit more of a loose grip on it. I don't need to hold it really tight down here. I can kind of hold it back a little bit, and just that way I can get a little bit more of a loose brush stroke. Okay. And I may not do much more than that with my wings. You know, I think I'm going to keep this one a little bit more simplified, so it's a little bit more beginner friendly. We don't have to go all the way into like super defined realism here to get the feel of an owl. You know, it's really pretty. That painterly kind of effect is really pretty, and I think a little bit more accessible if you're first learning to paint too. Just a little bit less fussy and a little bit less stressful. And I'm seeing both gray and white here in these upper feathers, so I'm just going to kind of switch between the light yellow and the gray, and maybe go a little bit darker on some of them. And again, kind of just using that shape of the brush to create my feathers. And if I'm getting an area like this where it's all kind of running together and I'm not seeing any definition between the feathers, then I need to either change my color or also, and I have changed the color there. I have yellow and gray, but they're close in value, and this is your value scale, so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. But if I've got two colors that are real close to each other, there's not a lot of contrast there, and so I'm not going to see a lot of definition in my feathers. So I want to go, you know, like a couple steps up and have a little bit of contrast by having a darker and a lighter version of the color. So I can use the same color, I can use different colors, but so if I go in and get a little bit of the gray and a little bit of my yellow oxide and make kind of a darker gray, then I can put some of that in, and now you can see those feather shapes in that area a little bit easier. So if you're, you know, having trouble like seeing, you're kind of getting your painting going and you're like, I'm not getting good definition, then check your values, because a lot of times that's the thing that I see beginners struggle with the most. I know I did when I first started. I remember I would go and show my drawings to my drawing teacher, and he would be like, that's good, but you need to have more contrast. And I was like, yeah, but it looks good. Like, I would get the form right, I would have the thing drawn the right way, but it was all shaded, you know, very close in value. You know, I wouldn't go very dark at all. I would keep, you know, I think it was maybe the fear of going too dark or something. I don't really know what was keeping me from doing it, but over time I got better at seeing that, oh yeah, I do need contrast in order to, you know, take my art to the next level, and started adding more contrast to my work. So one of the things that you can do to check your contrast is to like look at your painting, drawing, whatever, take a photograph of it and make it black and white. And if you can't see any form, if it doesn't look like it's rounded or, you know, has any shape to it, then you know that you need to add more contrast. And that's one of the easiest ways of seeing that that something maybe is too flat and too, you know, needing a little bit more definition and whatever. All right, you get the idea. Sorry, I'm trying to think and talk at the same time here.
But those are good points. I like that.
All right, so my legs are kind of right in here. It's not quite to the bottom, not quite, and they're kind of angled towards the pumpkin, and pretty much like overlapping there a little bit. This one's in front of that one. And then we'll put some feet on it. I want to go ahead and put those in before I forget and get too far in here. All right, so I think that's good. This pumpkin, or this owl is barn owl, so they've got a heart-shaped face. I'm going to do that kind of heart shape, and I think like that. I probably want to bring that in a little bit right there, maybe. So if you have to edit your drawing, and now I've got kind of an outline there, I'm just going to wipe my brush off and then just kind of pull that color out into some other places around. So pull it out until it's kind of starting to blend out, then maybe get some more of that color and put it in a couple other places. Especially if it's a color that you don't have, or if you've had to like remix a color. Sometimes that happens and you don't have any more of this color left. You had to remix it and you're not getting it exactly the same. Then, so here I'm remixing that darker version of it here, and we'll put it in and just kind of put it over the top of that in some places and blend it out as best you can with what's there, and then take it and put it in a couple other places that don't need it. You know, maybe put it over here, put it up in here, and that way you don't have a new color in just one spot. It's kind of distributed in different places, and it looks like it was intentional, even though you were patching up a mistake, or, you know, just fixing your drawing or whatever. Okay, so blend it out as best I can. Just get, you know, as much of it off of my brush as I can. I'm going to go ahead and kind of blend over that edge of that pumpkin there. I'll probably put that back in, but I feel like it's just bugging me there. That shape didn't look right, so I'd rather just start fresh there with that corner. Okay, so then like right here where they switch over, I'll just get a little bit of that lighter color and kind of plop that back over and try to blend them together. And again, it doesn't have to be fully blended, just enough. Leave some brush strokes. Dab. You don't have to keep blending and blending in the same spot. Just once you get it kind of looking good, then I kind of just add a few finishing little touching, you know, just touch the canvas a few places to get a few little interesting marks and, you know, some of that going on. Now it looks good. I think it's going good. I think that looks all right too. I'm not hating that.
Now,
So.
can we just paint like a human face on the owl to make it really creepy? No?
No.
I wish I was better at the technology stuff. I'd Photoshop in my face
really
right
quick
now,
while
while
I'm still doing stuff.
Here, take your time doing stuff. Let me see what I can whip up.
Do a little PNG drawing on your iPad and then just pop it in there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just fill in this face with some white with a little bit of the unbleached titanium added. And it's kind of a, like I said, sort of a heart shape. It's not quite centered. The one eye here is facing us a little bit more than the other one. It's not quite 3/4 turned, but something like that. Looks good. Get a little bit of that brown color, and let's go ahead and kind of figure out where that eye is going to go. Somewhere in here. That one is sort of right in here. I'm just going to put that in while they're wet. Pull down a little bit from the corner of the eyes, and then pull down for the beak. Okay, so that'll be our kind of starting point. I'm going to kind of dab around it and kind of mess up that edge because it's a little too perfect. And just dab into that wet paint. Okay, looks good. Get a little bit more of that dark and kind of go back underneath here to darken up the breast a little bit. It's a white bird though, so, you know, even the dark areas, quote unquote, are fairly light because of that, because it's white. It's reflecting your shadows and things, but even the shadowed areas are not fully black in daylight, especially, you know, they're catching light. So we can make it kind of grayed out, but we don't want it to be fully dark. Get a little bit more white to put on the chest there. And yeah, pretty happy with that, I think. Let's go ahead and work on this side of the pumpkin here. That's dry enough now that we can work on it. I'm going to get some more of that green. I don't have much of it left, so I don't want to use too much of it. Kind of hoarding it here and get some white. Hoarding it, yeah. Just hold it. Save it.
My precious.
My precious, yep. That's exactly it.
How long have we been married? We came up with the same thing.
Okay, let's see. So we've got this one is coming up from right here. I don't know why it's that dark. Okay, let's get, don't want it that dark. Okay, so right in here, going down, and then there's another one kind of coming out from this side. Just a little bit of it visible. It's hard because it's going off the edge of the canvas there. Now I remember why I don't like to do stuff off the edge of the canvas, because it's a pain in the butt to paint. Because it wants, your brush wants to kind of pull to the side. So you may want to not have it this close to the edge there.
Well, we can break off the edge there and fold it flat for you.
Yeah, thank you.
Cut it off.
Mm-hmm. Okay, getting some of the darker green, doing it down here so that this, at least this little bit of it is a little bit darker coming up. Just a little bit of separation between the two. Okay, looks all right. Then let's go with my dark color and starting there, kind of go down and go over the top of that seam. So I want a little bit of the color on both sides of that seam. It's not like a hard line. We're seeing both sides of it. And then right here, coming up from the stem a little bit, up from that edge, so that there's a little bit of a bump right there. And then pulling down with this lighter green, which is just slightly lighter than the other colors that I've used. And I'm still letting some of this orange show through. I've got some of this blue here that I mixed before. I'm going to grab some of that. That was the Ultramarine Blue mixed with this color. And like right in here, about halfway, I'm going to kind of transition to this more blue-green for this half. And I'm kind of going to, this one here will have a little bit of both, and then I'll go to just blue on this side. And that's just the shadows, you know, your shadows will shift to more blue sometimes. In this one, we've got a warm, or a warm yellowish color on our highlight side, so we'll have our cooler blue color on our shadow side. Okay, so that looks good. Let's go ahead and put a little bit of that darker blue on this one. Coming down and right there. And that's about all I'm going to do. I'm not going to overdo. I could probably do a lot more with this, but I think I'm fairly happy with that. Just keeping it simple. Let's go ahead and put a little bit of a crease in this one coming up with that blue. There we go. Let's keep it a little bit more simplified. I need some burnt umber.
I'm liking the look so far.
Yeah, thank you.
The painting,
Too, I think
the painting's coming out pretty good too.
like I said, so far. So
I mean, it's only been 30
Jury's
some
out.
years, 39 years. I'll let you know in a 39 more.
Mm-hmm. Like it. All right, getting some burnt umber and that black, or that we made with the ultramarine blue. I'm going to use that on my shadow side of the stem there. Just going to add a little bit of darker color. It actually kind of went on pretty dark, so I'm not going to need to do too much there, but I'm going to kind of put a little bit more of a crease right there, I think. And then if you need a second coat on your pumpkin itself, you can do that too, like down in our shadow areas there. I feel like I want a little bit. I'm just dry brushing here, which just means I have very little paint left in my brush, and I'm just letting it kind of catch on the canvas here and doing long brush strokes to kind of add some texture. Okay. Ooh, I don't want that light color down there. Clean out my brush here. I think I want that kind of orangey brown that I had down here. Just a little bit of it. Wiping my brush out so I don't have it too much, and just kind of wiping it out each time I run it through that wet paint. It's picking up more, so I can wipe it off. Okay, getting more of that blue. Keeping that light orange color down at the bottom, though. I don't want it up in my shadow areas up at the top of this. And getting more of that highlight color. I said I was keeping it simple, and I'm still messing with it, huh? Can't help myself.
You, Angela Anderson?
I know.
That's okay.
Okay, getting some white now. And I'm going to find some areas to just, I kind of ran it through here, but not too much, so they're pretty, it's pretty white. And I'm just going to kind of run it through to add some highlights on my pumpkin and kind of keep them in the same general area of your pumpkin. You know, these parts will be the parts that are coming out at us. So if we want them to look like it's coming out at us, all in the same general area there. So I'm going to maybe bring this one up just a little bit so it kind of matches the other ones. All right, that looks pretty good. I think we'll leave that, and I might add some more over here. I don't know yet. What I may do is just lighten this up on this side, and that way it'll kind of look like the pumpkin on this side is that dark part will be less obvious, right? Or more obvious. It'll make that dark area look darker if I lighten up the background around it. So let's do that. That's kind of right here. Just make that area a little bit lighter. Okay, so put that on. Yeah, so now that pumpkin's, that dark area is standing out a little bit more. A little bit better. All right, so most of this is out of my brush now, and I'm just going to kind of pull it down. It went on pretty wet, so I don't love how soupy that went. Well, I'm not really sure why that did that, but I must have had a lot of water on my palette right there. So I'm going to get some of the darker color and kind of press it back over. And I can keep the darker color up against the owl somewhat because it's pretty light, but I'm going to do the darker color in the corner. And okay, yeah, that looks better. Now that's really standing out more. I'm trying to blend it in. It's a little bit trickier when my paint is so wet. But I think I got it. Okay. Yeah, now it looks like kind of like it's glowing back there too, which is nice. All right, so before I do my what is that word I'm looking for? Spiderweb. Spiderweb. Were you thinking of it? Were you going to guess?
I was trying, but you were too quick.
Okay. Getting some black, getting some of this dark that I mixed before, because I'm not going to need that much of it. Can use it for glazing. This is the Ultramarine Blue and Burnt Umber, and I added a little bit of black to it as well. And then I want to use my glazing medium. You can use water too, but just be careful how much water you use, because especially if your paints are heavy body acrylics, they won't stick to your canvas very well if you add too much water. Okay, so I'm gonna just brush it on in the corners here. Just darken up kind of where my spider webs are going to go. Okay, and then I can take my paper towel and just have it like slightly damp and just buff out any parts that got a little too much. It just helps kind of blend it in a little bit more naturally than a brush. Or you can even apply it with the paper towel, if you want it even more kind of buffed out. And depending on how textured your canvas is, you'll really kind of see that grain of the canvas peeking out too. It looks nice. Okay, so that looks nice. We'll go ahead and put some spider webs there. You can leave them off if you don't want them, but I think I want it to be a little bit more Halloween feeling. We did an owl last year. I should have Mark grab my spooky owl. Are you out there, hon?
I'm out here.
Will you grab the owl from last year? It's in the case out there.
With the hat?
Yep. So you could add a hat to the owl if you wanted to make it more Halloween, even more Halloween-ish. Let me see. I think I'm gonna use my yeah, I think I'm gonna use this one. Yeah, so here's my owl from last year. He's kind of more of a cartoony type one, but we're doing it pretty loosely too. So I think you get away with doing it on a taller canvas and giving him a hat similar to this one. You could even do the background this way if you wanted to, or just add this guy over here, add a friend peeking in. You could see it like whoa.
With him over his shoulder.
Exactly. So, or just do both. Enjoy. I have another owl that I did that was all black canvas, and he's just kind of like creepy, coming out of the dark, that we did several years ago. And then I have a couple that are just the face owls that are really easy beginner ones. So I've painted several owls. I really enjoy painting them. They're just a fun bird. I like painting birds in general, but owls are one of my favorites. to paint. They're just really fun. They have a lot of character to their faces and a lot of different. Yeah, oh gosh, I've probably painted a dozen at least over the years. Different owls, maybe more. I know we did an autumn owl for one of our challenge videos too, a while back. So, with leaves on a tree.
And what is this challenge video you speak of?
Autumn owl, I think it's called.
No, but where can they find it?
Oh, on my website. Yeah, if you go to my website, thankfulart.com.
It's part of your Patreon stuff,
Yeah.
right?
Yes,
The
so
$15
I have
level.
different tiers on Patreon of, and on Thursdays you saw the, some of the other paintings I did. This one of the dogs was my $5 tier. This one was the $15 tier that we just finished last month. Let me see what else I've got here. This is the series that I've got going on, Animals of the World. So we've got Europe still to do. I have Africa, Asia, North America, South America. So really Europe and Antarctica are the only two left in that series. And there's another challenge one. So that was a $15 tier also. Both of these are $15 tier ones. You can see they're much more complex. So the techniques aren't particularly difficult always. You know, I mean, I have the same basic techniques that I use on all my paintings, but the complexity is in the composition and stuff. And especially with the $15 tier, I go a lot into composition and design that I don't have time for in my paintings here on YouTube. And because we just have a certain amount of time. So we work on those challenge videos with my patrons every Thursday afternoon. We have a 1 to 2 hours together, and we work on a painting all month long, sometimes 2 months, depending on how complicated the composition is. And then, like last week, we were starting on a new project that's a street scene with the pink bicycle on one of the photos that I took. And if you put up the challenge image, they can see what I'm talking about. But we worked on the composition, so we moved things around in the composition of the actual photos. I had several photos that I was using and showed them how to change the composition of a photo to get the one, just like what I did with this one, where I had a pumpkin and this one was a stacked pumpkin photo, and I had to cut out around it and then cut out the bird and then put them together and splice them together. So with that one, the window did not have that in it, the chandelier in it in that photo. It was in another window, and so we cut that out, put it in, and we changed things around a little bit, and then I showed them how to make the traceable for it. So, or sometimes we'll do a detailed drawing depending on what it is, but architectural stuff I usually do the traceable from the actual photo. So anyhow, that was a long story just to say there's extra videos where I do more with my patrons, things that I don't have time for on YouTube. Now that we're down to Tuesday nights and Mark's got to go to bed by, by 9.
He gets up at 4.
Exactly. Yeah, no joke. All right. Using the burnt umber, yellow oxide, burnt sienna trio here, which was kind of our base color for our bird feathers there. And I think I added just a tiny bit of gray, or maybe picked up a little bit of the gray, but I'm going to use that here now that I've got my black eyes kind of based in. I'm going to use that to kind of go around my eyes and just tap in over my gray that I already had there. And create that kind of tear that comes down from the eye. That's one of the distinct this little shape there is one of the distinct things about these owls here. And then I'm going to darken up around the beak so that I can highlight the beak. If I don't have anything dark around it, then you won't be able to see the highlight on the beak. So I'm going to kind of darken up the feathers, and then I'm going to get some white here and sort of start putting in some feathers around my face. Just using this number 4 round here. Oops, but that's all right. I kind of do want that part of the face to be a little bit darker right there, maybe, you know, just right on this side of our light coming from this direction, obviously hitting all these raised things, so it makes sense that this side of the face might be a little bit darker than this side that's getting more light. Okay. And then the feathers kind of go up and around the eyes, so the eyes are sort of where they almost like a sun, the middle of a sun, you know, and all the rays kind of come out from there. Right here, they don't go very far out. They're pretty flat right here on the inside of the face, but right around here, they definitely kind of radiate out a little bit. And I'm just going to kind of try to dab my white on here and there until I get it into, you know, a pleasing, something that looks good to me, you know, so it doesn't have to be exactly like the photo. Just kind of get, you can even squint your eyes to kind of get an idea of like the main shapes and shadows of your photo. Squint when you're looking at your photo just to see kind of where the main colors and things are happening, and then make sure you're dabbing on your paint more heavily in those brighter areas. This color, at least when we're doing this highlight. I hope that made sense. But I'm going in with my white and my light gray here. And this is a smaller brush, so I'm getting more detailed brush strokes. I don't necessarily want to go that detailed, so I'm going to kind of pull back there because the pumpkin's pretty rudimentary, so I don't want to go super detailed on my owl and have everything else be kind of not. So I'm going to get some of this unbleached titanium and kind of mix it in with my light colors here, and I'm just going to kind of draw out some highlights on my stem here just to kind of give it some texture, and then make sure I've got my little bit of water on my brush to make my paint a little bit more fluid. Roll my brush to a point so I've got a good fine point on it. I'm going to hold it back because I find that I do this better if I'm not choking on the brush so much. And I'm just going to kind of let the brush wiggle around and do a little trailing thing there. And then I can kind of hold it tighter and come back in and add some darker to that here and there if I need to, or, you know, add a little finishing curl to it. But I find that, like, if I'm wanting to paint something that's kind of loose, having my brush looser in my hand and having it a little bit less tight. This is tight and this is loose, you know, so holding it a little bit farther back helps me not get too caught up in details in areas where I want to be loose. All right, so getting some burnt umber here, and I'm just going to kind of do sort of what I did before, but just with the darker areas, and make sure I have some of both in there. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. just want to be able to see that. So if you can't see it, you might need to go lighter or darker than I did on mine. But I think that looks pretty good. I like it. I think last year or the year before we did a raven also. So you could do the raven one that had the white pumpkin with the raven on it. That would look good with this too. I think I could see a whole series of birds and pumpkins. I love painting pumpkins. I love this time of year. It's just really fun. All right, so let me get white on the tip of this brush. And I'm just going to kind of highlight a little bit of white on that beak there. I think I want to go a little bit more gray on the tip. So I'm going to kind of sort of make sure that that beak has a little bit more gray. I think I brought the beak down a little too far, didn't I? Let me try that again. Let me move it up just a little bit.
Yeah, 2 years ago you did the jack-o'-lantern.
Is it 2 years? Okay.
With
the raven.
With a small white pumpkin and the raven.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like that one too. Yeah, we've been doing videos for, gosh,
A week or two.
12 years, maybe, something like that. So we've got a few. There's, I think, over almost 1,000 on YouTube alone, and over 1,000 when you include all my Patreon videos. So got a few for you guys to choose from. And the ones on YouTube are all free. So thank you to our patrons. I would have to say that. Just a shout out to our patrons. We have so many wonderful patrons who have supported us for years. And we were very fortunate that we had, a good group of followers in 2016. I started getting people asking me, if they could donate, and they would donate during the videos and stuff. But just wanting more detailed videos and
to support you.
Right, and to support us. And we started our Patreon in 2017, and we have been just overwhelmed with how many people
I've been blessed.
have supported us over the years. It's been amazing. So I never dreamed when I started my first video way back when that this would turn into what it's turned into. I was just doing some video or doing some kids classes locally and decided to share on YouTube, which was kind of new at the time and didn't have a lot of, believe it or not, at the time did not have a lot of instructional videos on there for artists. And so we were one of the first that started doing. I just did a couple kind of tutorials because they were popular on Pinterest, which was also new at the time. I'm really aging myself out here. But, I just was like, well, other people might be interested to see what I'm doing in my classes, and it just took off. It's crazy. So it took me about a year to change from doing local classes to changing my studio to not a art studio with large easels and large canvases, but filming stuff. And then we still didn't have a good camera at the time. And then with our Patreon support, we were able to add the extra cameras and add this side camera with my palette and get better microphones, because if you watch my older videos, my sound is terrible. So we've come a long way to you guys' support. So we don't take it lightly.
Those people who suffered through the first.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe anybody watched those videos. Yeah. Really feel like just for this public safety, we probably should redo all of them. I mean, we just need to start over from the beginning and redo them. Yeah. With better audio. Okay. So, and better camera work. All right. So I'm using some of my white and some of this black that I had with my glaze color and my glaze. And my black eyes are dry now. I'm going to go ahead and add that color to my owl eyes to add a little highlight in my eyes. Zoom in really good, hun, because this is the magic part. There we go. Okay, so I just dabbed it on right here, here and here. Kind of, you want to leave a little bit of the black at the top around it, because those eyes need to feel like they're part of the head. And if they don't have that dark color at the top, they just look like they're set on top of the face. So that kind of makes them go down into the skull. And then I'm going to get the bright white and just go on top of where I've already done and just add 1 or 2 little dots of white. This side I'm not going to do as much because you can't really see it on the photo. And if there's too much, I can kind of come back in and dab off of it, or I can get some of my black and touch up. I feel like I didn't like that dot of white, so maybe I'm going to try again and move it down a little bit. There we go. All right, good. And there you can see what I did with the beak too. I kind of put the dark gray around the sides and highlighted the top of it. And then just added my lighter white here and a little bit of a crease where the separation is above the beak there in the face. All right. Then we can add maybe a little bit, just a little bit of this lighter color sort of at the bottom of the eye to round it out. Again, leaving just a little bit of that black. It just helps kind of round out that eye a little bit, make it look not so flat. And get a little bit of white and come in above the eye, give that crease. You can see where that gray was, so I'm kind of going in between the gray there. And then I'm going to use my brush, and there's some little teeny tiny lashes, and I'm just going to tap to do some tiny lashes there, little floofy lashes, just using the tip of the brush. If you do too much, you can always come back in with your black and cut in around the lashes to push them back. But there we go. Okay, I think that's good. The feathers down here have those little kind of white and black speckles in them, so I'm going to get some of this white. What?
Real quick, what brush were you using to
This
do
is
the
the
eyes?
4 round.
4 round. Got
Okay, so I'm just going to, and if you want to, you can give another layer of the feathers. I'm pretty happy with my feathers, I think, on the whole, so I'm going to leave it, I think. I'm going to get some glaze, though, here, and I'm just going to kind of add some of these white speckles that I see. If they're not showing up enough, you can not add as much glaze, but I'm going to add these, and then I'm going to go in and give each one kind of some black dot details. So they're kind of everywhere. I feel like they're not just on the tips of the feathers. I don't know. I guess they are, but they just look like they're kind of speckled. Some of them are sort of in a line, you know, so you can look at your pictures and see where you're seeing them most, but I think that looks good enough right there. And then I'm going to get my gray. And I don't want it full strength, so I'm going to get a little bit of glaze or get it in with that light gray that I already had here, so it's not super black. And I'm just going to dab in, well, I think I need a little bit darker than that. Dab in my little black dots, and then some of them are kind of on their own, and some of them are on top of the white areas, or kind of in conjunction with the white areas, sort of in the middle of those white dots. So kind of find those and I'm setting my brush down and just very quickly, like pulling just slightly to get a little black dots. If they're really obvious, you can maybe change the color, lighten it up just slightly. You know, you don't want this to look like just like really obvious and super dark. Like if you look at it from a distance and it's just like all you can see is the black, then maybe you need to cut back on the color just a little bit, make it a little bit more subtle. But I think that's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. All right, and then I'm going to get a little bit of that darker brown and do a little bit of maybe a little glaze with it. A little bit of, no, I need a bigger brush. That's not going to do it. So let's go ahead and get the 8 round, a little bit bigger round here. Burnt umber, a little bit of white here. Maybe a little bit of the gray. Get the hair in there. Get that hair out of there. Come on. Stuck on there. I swear I have some more hair in my videos. Just like, did someone say we're painting? We need some hair in there.
It's mixed media.
Yes, exactly. All right, so there we go. And let's go ahead and use this, maybe a little bit more yellow to do the feet. And so this one is kind of out there. This one coming out. I'm going to kind of have it kind of clawing onto the side of the pumpkin here. And coming out. I noticed that my reference photo, if you look really closely, it's got double toes because when I was photoshopping it, I didn't notice that. So like there's 2 claws on each thing because I didn't get my Photoshop lined up just right.
The reference photo's photoshopped.
Shut up. I know. I was like, what do you think about this? When I was showing Mark the thing, he's like, it looks photoshopped. I'm like, well, duh. I mean, obviously it's photoshopped, but can I paint it? And he's like, oh, yeah, I guess so. Not very helpful.
Captain Obvious over here.
Yeah.
You're
Like,
welcome.
it's not going to be the finished picture. It's like, I will make it better, hopefully.
I crack myself up
I
sometimes.
know.
And sometimes you.
Sometimes me. The sad thing is I know all your jokes now. Okay.
Kind of webbed. Never noticed that.
All right, getting a little bit of the black and a little bit of the white. So kind of a dark gray. We can start kind of mid-tone, I think. And I'm gonna set right in the middle of that toe. I kind of made it a little bit lumpier at the top. And then we'll have this little, I might go a little bit darker. Have that kind of set in there and pulling forward. Set there and pull forward. Can't see the back ones because they're hidden, but there we go. There. We'll let that dry and then we'll add a highlight there at the end before we finish. But let's go ahead and put our white on there. Of course, there's bands on the feet, but I'm gonna ignore that. This is a free bird. He's wild.
Fly high.
Yes.
Oh, fly high.
And put the feathers over the top of the feet just a little bit. And then let's go ahead and kind of give this one that's going behind a little bit darker right here. just where it, so we can see that it's the back foot. There's a little bit darker gray there. And there's actually some long, thin, like kind of lighter colored feathers that are sort of in front. So let me get some of that yellow oxide, unbleached titanium, a little bit of that gray. And we'll do these longer feathers that sort of come in front right here. If you can't see them, go ahead and go a little bit lighter. There we go. There. Now we've got kind of some covering there, and there's a little bit of darker, bigger feathers right here too. I might go ahead and add that. All right. There we go. And then once that is dry, I'm going to get my smaller brush and get my white and my unbleached titanium and just very lightly kind of go across and give my feet a little highlight. Just sort of in the middle of the foot, and then run it through to a point and dab sort of on the top middle of those claws to give them a little highlight as well. Okay. If it dries too dark, then, or if it's too bright or whatever, when it's dry, then you can always go back in and go over it with some lighter gray or something, but I think it'll probably be fine. All right, let's go ahead and do our little spider web and we'll be about done. So I'm going to get some white here. If you want, if you have it, you can get out some fluid acrylic like this, or an ink that's really fluid. Might even use that ink actually. We'll see. We'll see how it does with this brush. If I can't get thin enough lines, I'll switch to a liner. But using some water, you're also gonna for sure need glaze so that it sticks to the canvas, because I'm gonna have to add a lot of water. That's the key with lining anything, like using a liner brush or getting thin lines, is making sure your water or your paint should be as thin as possible, without being transparent, like fully transparent. Milk ink consistency, and no tension. So when I run my brush through it, there's no resistance at all. All right, so that looks good. Let's go ahead and figure out where I want to do it. I think I'm going to do it kind of coming out from this corner, sort of like this. So I'm going to do my first like lines, just very thin. And I'm not going to do solid lines. I'm going to do them sort of, actually I think I want to do them this way. So this is the center, so I'm going to do my lines coming out and do them dabbing. So you don't have to be great with the liner here. We're just going to kind of dab. But try to keep them about the same width. That's the main thing. So if you're having a hard time keeping your lines thin, you could use a pen for this. You could even use a pencil for this. I would probably use a pencil over a pen, just because a pencil you can get it even thinner, you know, than. And I want them to be, you know, kind of spokes, sort of. And if it goes down here, then I want it to go down next to it, so that they look like they're kind of being affected by one another. In our picture here, they're kind of going on behind the bird there. But they're getting real close together in this area. And then they kind of do like that. And then there's another sort of one that sort of ends them there. And sort of like that. Okay. Then this one sort of comes back this way. All right. Then we've got, you know, just our connecting ones here. So I'm going to kind of do them like this. And these ones can kind of crisscross each other. They don't have to be straight or anything, but we kind of want them to continue from one to another, sort of, ish. And again, I can kind of dab. They don't have to be perfect. I want to keep them fairly small though. Then you see I haven't been having to reload my brush. I have plenty of paint on here and it's staying pretty thin. This is a good brush. I like it. I think this one's going on my list. This size round brush is usually my favorite just because you can do lines and details with it. You can press down on it to get a wider, you know. Oh shoot, I was supposed to leave that open. Oh well. Got into it and wasn't looking at my reference. It looks alright though. I think it's looking spidery. Some of them are kind of caught together in some of these places, so you can kind of, if you make a mistake or whatever, or, you know, get it too thick in an area, just make that your area where they kind of converge, and just make the other ones around it kind of all lead to it to make it look like it, you know, you meant to do that. All right, so I'm reloading. I think this is the first time I've reloaded since I started, and maybe twice, but not much. Okay, looks good. Let's do a few more here. So there's a few like kind of coming across that are sort of meeting up like that. You could put a spider too if you really wanted to. Mark's got some creepy photos of some spiders that he's been taking.
Want me to go bring them in
No.
for you so you can see them?
Yeah, live spiders.
The
No.
mama and the babies?
We had a mom spider with babies that was in our garden.
She's still out there.
She's still guarding her babies.
Yeah.
Wow. She's a good mama. Yeah, she's a beautiful spider. She's been in our garden all summer, and she had the babies and guarded them. She had an egg sac, and she spread her legs over the egg sac and was just holding on to it.
No touchy.
No touchy. Nothing was getting to her babies. And now that they're all hatched, she's still doing it. That's pretty cool. Spiders are good mamas.
Hey, there's a photo if you want to share.
No, well, I don't know. Should we have a disclaimer? It's like we're gonna show a spider photo here.
You can show the video and
I-
I'll crawl around.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. Okay, here we're gonna show a spider mama. So don't look if you're squeamish about spiders.
Oops.
Oh, geez. That's brutal. I don't know if I need to show that. Okay,
Just
there's
spiders.
there's a spider mom. There she is. She's beautiful. She's the same color as a leaf, so you can almost not see her body. And then There's her babies. Yeah. Okay, that's all I'm going to show because that's. Oh, that gives me the creeps.
Here, I'll
She doesn't do a web like this though. She just sits in ambush. She's an ambush spider, and she just sits and waits for the bees and butterflies and things to come, and grabs them when they come to the flowers. And she blends in so much they can't see her till it's too late. I have saved a couple butterflies from her, though, because she was about to get them, and I was like, no, you pick something else. Pick on something else.
Not the pretty ones.
No. Okay, so there we go. Kind of did it a little heavy-handed over here on this side. But yeah, I like it. I probably went a little overboard here. I probably could have kept it up here, but probably maybe didn't need to go that far down with it. And I kind of feel like this side needs a little bit more, but you could have a spider hanging down right here if you really wanted to. I don't think I'm going to though. I don't think I want to. I want that. Yeah, I think that looks good. All right, so let me get some white here. I'm just going to kind of put some white on the front of her leg. His or her, I don't know. Is there a way to tell just by looking at their faces? Not really sure. With owls? Yeah, don't know if...
I don't
ones,
know.
you
All
know,
I
some-
know what they look like when they're really upset.
Yeah. Mark got scared. Was it this kind of owl?
Yeah, it was a barn owl.
Oh, wow. Mark almost got attacked by a barn owl on a bicycle. He stopped to look at it and was like, oh, aren't you cute? You want a hug? And it was like, ah!
Yeah.
He was up on the bottom line of a phone line, just hanging out at nighttime, and I was like, "Oh, look at you!" And he kind of
Aren't you pretty?
looked at me, and put out his wings and screeched at me, and I was like,
I'm going to go now. I'm going to pee my pants.
Yeah.
I'm glad I don't faint easily, because I would have just passed out right now.
It worked. His little defense.
But yeah, I moved along.
You went away real fast. Huh? So Mark's afraid of owls. Check. No. And I don't love spiders, but I don't mind painting their webs. I just don't want to walk into one. Ugh. All right, I think, aside from some splatters, I think we're done. That was fun. Yeah, I'm going to do some splatters, I think.
You're not going to put
On
the
here?
handprint on the wall there?
Yeah, no, I'm not going to put the bloody handprint on the wall. I did notice that. I noticed that after the fact. It's like, oh, okay. Well, not going to include that, but
It could be a Wilson family member.
no, thank you. But you can make it as spooky as you want. Add some spiders, whatever you want. It's your painting. I'm not going to add that to mine. All right. Spiderweb is about as close as I can get. I'm getting to creepy. All right. I am... Put my glove. Yep, because I don't want to get this on my rings or anything. And that's about as good as it's going to get. Right here's got a mittens here. Okay. Close. It's inside out, so that's what's happening.
Too awesome.
Oh gosh. Okay, there we go. There we go. You know what? I don't think I want to use the toothbrush to that way. I think I'm gonna try to. Oof! I didn't mean to do that. Not that much, at least. It's okay. I'm not worried about it.
Wow.
This is
It's
all.
a lot.
I know it is a lot. It's dry, so I can wipe it
I
off.
thought you said no blood.
Yeah, no. Okay, there we go. Oh, look at that. It took off the paint. That's interesting.
Get enough water on there.
No, it shouldn't have done that. That means that undercolor didn't bind right there. That's very weird. Never seen it do that before. Took that. Oh no. Oh, okay. I was gonna say, it was a piece of green that was in my thing. Okay, so well, I didn't want to take that off. I'm gonna leave that because I want it to be pretty big splatters. Yeah, I had this green here. It was a piece of the green. I was like, I've never seen it do that. It wasn't. It was just okay. Yeah, there we go. Getting big splatters. So, yeah, there we go. That looks good. I could have done the splatters before I did everything else, but I don't mind having it kind of on top of the spider webs. A little bit on my pumpkin. Took most of it off my pumpkin though, just sort of dabbing it. And then once it's sort of semi-dry, I'm gonna set this down and sort of lift. Yeah, so it's a little bit lighter in places. And I can always do this multiple times so that I get different darknesses of my splatters. But I definitely like the reddish burnt sienna as my splatter color. It looks good. Especially on that green, it's showing up well. Okay, I think that's good. You can see just subtle. And like I said, you can go back in and add more if you want. I might add more down here. See if I can get some bigger splatters down here. Yeah, there we go. Okay. And just use that damn paper towel, just dab off. I'm going to let those set because I think I like that. Just make sure you don't do it white because then it'll look like he's pooping. But all right, and then protect your work surface because now I have splatters on my mug over here that I just got. I got splatters everywhere on that first go around. So,
Clean up everything.
yeah, I'm trying to clean it up while it's still fresh so it doesn't set in there. Okay, there we go. I don't think anything else really matters. I got it on all kinds of, there's splatters on all of my stuff back here. Like all of my mugs, everything is all splattered. So it's pretty much, if it's in this range, beyond my thing and your fair game. So don't put anything good on your on your work surface. All right, there we go. Yeah, I like it. Turned out good. I love the colors. Love this kind of neutral palette with that kind of moody green, sagey green, with little tiny hints of warm orangey brown with the burnt sienna. So hope you guys try this. Hope you enjoyed it. Give it a thumbs up, like, subscribe, all that good stuff.
And give me a chance to to announce that we got some donations.
Thank you. Wow. Awesome. Very sweet.
This one is from our friend Cindy.
Oh, thank you, Cindy.
This one's explaining what it is. It's a hippo character throwing a blazing uppercut into the air while the word KO appears in the background.
KO, knockout. Yes.
Yes.
I love that. I love how they
doesn't translate.
Yeah,
well,
translates them.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
It was
Cindy.
awesome.
Right. I think I'm trying to see if I can what color to use. I think I'm just going to use my white to sign it. And or maybe black. Maybe black will be better. Oh, I do have a brown. Let's use brown. Sorry. The most difficult decision all day is what color to put my signature. Yeah, that works. I don't love this is a Posca pen, by the way. Don't love the ones that are the felt tip. This one is a 0.7 millimeter. I really prefer these ones that are called pin type because they have a metal tip that the tips aren't as felty and they don't spit as much. So, you know, the felt tip, when you write with it, it kind of gets a little bit of splatters, which I don't mind too much with this one, but you know, sometimes, especially if you're doing it on a white background, you don't want that. So anyhow, links down in the description to my Amazon shop to buy the Posca pens if you want some, or also the brushes from the Brush Guys and elsewhere. Blick has these, and also Amazon. So they'll be in my list down in the description. You can find those website links, and if you use our links, it helps support our channel without costing you anything. So it's nice. We appreciate those who use our links to purchase stuff when they need art supplies.
And they can share that with family members coming up here at holidays.
That's
so they
right.
say, hey, easy shopping. Just buy this from me.
Right, exactly. I think I'm going to just put a couple of like dangly threads coming down.
That's how I shop the best.
Mark uses my lists all the
Angela
time.
puts together a list. Here's
Yep.
a link to exactly what I want.
Yep.
Now, in her defense, sometimes I buy what the picture is and not what the actual
Link goes to.
link goes to.
Yeah.
So make sure
He
it's the
has
right
been
color.
known to do
All I'm
that.
going to say. Some people might get that wrong.
Not that you have.
No, not me. Not me
Not
personally.
you personally. Just
I've
in
heard.
case
I've
you've
heard
heard
this
that could happen.
Yes. Well, that's all we got time for. Thanks.
Yeah, I know. You think it's not all as foolproof as you think.
Yeah.
Not when you're dealing with fools.
Not. All right. Thank you guys so much. I think I'm gonna stop here before I start messing things up. But all right, there we go. I just wanted a little bit more of that web coming down on this side. I felt like it was a little too top heavy on this end of the painting. So there we go. I didn't love my strings coming down, so I just decided to go ahead and do web coming down there. All right, again, do your lines and then just do your, you know, your ones through kind of parallel, and you can pretty put them wherever you want, pretty much. So there we go. So we got a new set of webs down there. All right, that's it for real this time. All right, thanks guys for watching. Hope to see you next week. We're going to be painting a landscape, I think, with the Abbey, I believe. So should be a fun one. Yeah. All right. We'll see you then. Bye.